Storms will pop up, not as hot, highs into the upper 80s with a few more afternoon storms for Friday. Looking to buy or sell a home? Real Living Southern Realty provides real answers and customized marketing solutions. Looking to buy or sell a home? Check rlsouthernrealty.com for more. Serving the entire tri-state area, and I'm Source E12 Chief Meteorologist Pastor 4.
Radio 92.7.
Oh, it's Marie Mott with the Marie Mott Show. That's right. You get me twice this week. I'm super excited about talking to you guys continuously about what's going on here in the city of Chattanooga. And it's a lot going on. And I don't want to just talk about some of the bad things going on. I want to talk about some of the good things, such as my radio station is going to be at the North Shore Starbucks today, starting at 7 p.m. We're going to be there talking about football. Now, I know there's a lot of Vols fans out there, but I'm sure we got some local people who love the schools that are playing high school football. And the big game tonight is Red Bank versus Signal Mountain. And we got two special drinks. One is going to be the Red Bank Warren Refresher, which is strawberry acai refresher with lemonade, and a Signal Mountain Eagles Frappuccino, vanilla bean Frappuccino with strawberry. And a portion of the proceeds for you guys showing up, supporting the station, a portion of the proceeds are going to go to after-school programs. They're also going to go to scholarship and local schools. We here at Nooga Radio 92.7 believe in local economy. So we definitely, through sports, we want to give back to the schools. They certainly aren't getting any investment from the city of Chattanooga. So meet us there at 7 o'clock at the Starbucks and chop it up. Wear your colors, your school colors or your school jersey. Wear it, you know, with your baby's name and number on the back of it. Come holler at us. All right. We're going to continue to roll on. And I ended with the first part of the second segment with my grandmother raising me and telling me about the importance of a quilt. And in the African-American community, a quilt is a story. It is a way of telling a story. Often it's not just leftover scraps. It may be an important dress, maybe a dress that was made for somebody when they were getting a job, or a piece of a wedding dress. Quilt tells a story. It wasn't just something that would keep you warm. It would tell a story. And that's what, if we get together in solidarity, that's what we can do. We could tell a story and we begin to change the trajectory of where we're going in this society. But we got to start first with the truth. And I didn't get to talk about it too much yesterday, but I told you guys that I was going to start talking to you guys about strongtowns.org, and them talking about the growth Ponzi scheme. Now, David Toulis, whose show I definitely recommend you guys tuning into. David Toulis was the one who recommended me check this out. And when he talked about this, I was kind of interested. What is the growth Ponzi scheme? As far as what does it have to do with a city? And the reality is that we all should know. If we don't know, we're definitely lying to ourselves. Well, it's no reason to lie. The average American is strapped with student loan debt, credit card debt. We robbing Peter to pay Paul and pretending because we got an American flag on the front porch that everything is okay. It's not. We got to stop lying. But the truth of it all is that it's not just the civilian. It's not just the everyday neighbor or the listener who can shake their head and agree, yes, I am strapped with all kinds of debt. But also our cities, which constantly tell us through mayors and county mayors and city mayors, and who constantly tell us through county commission and city council that the city is growing. We're providing more jobs than ever before. Jobs, jobs, jobs. You always hear that. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Everybody's promising jobs. We're going to build bigger and better. And Mike called in yesterday and said that man's goal is just to get out of the house so his wife and children don't drive him nuts. And while he is out, he builds. He doesn't ask if it's necessary. He doesn't ask if it is needed. He just builds anyway. Because man must build. Nobody is asking questions. And the greater question is not just why we are building, but what does it cost to maintain what we have built? If we would be honest for just a second, we all can agree that there are constant conversations about Chattanooga's infrastructure as well as our nation's infrastructure. My mother, who started her career as a TVA chemist, yes, my mother is a chemist, who started her professional career after college as a TVA chemist and now as a project manager, can tell you after traveling not only across this nation, but also outside of the country in Canada, has gone to several different plants, from nuclear facilities to coal-fired facilities to steam facilities. Our infrastructure is crumbling. Shucks, we can look at our power grid system is severely outdated. And nobody wants to talk about how much money it's going to take to update what we already have, but how much it's also going to take for us to maintain what we continue to build. The simple math is that history is there for us not to be stupid. We have to look back and see what has already been done before we should make a decision on anything that we should do tomorrow. And the problem is that we have a lot of people who are just either charismatic or maybe they just have money and know some people that get into positions of power in city and municipal government, county government. They have zero understanding of constitutional expectation, as well as having zero understanding of fiscal responsibility. And so it's absolutely no surprise that we have people. Now, has anybody ever asked a simple question? And y'all know what the number is, 800-8949, if you want to call and talk to me. Ever asked the simple question, why do we have to have jobs be promised on the foundation of debt in a payment in lieu of taxes? Has anybody ever asked that question? That's like a childlike way of approaching the situation. But has anybody ever asked, why? Why are we being promised jobs only at the benefit of a company by giving them tens of millions of dollars worth of tax breaks? When the reality is that we already have had, the city of Chattanooga, I look at some of these buildings that are empty. So a lot of them are for sale by the Sentinel. Some of these buildings that could be, reinvested in, put right back together and utilized for micro apartments, because people really don't need it. That's the first thing we got to admit. We don't have a whole lot of needs as people. Where our debt comes from is our excess. For those who call themselves Christians and say that they believe in the Bible, which should be my conservative listener, or either my libertarian listener, or maybe even my Democrat, you may say that you believe in Christ as well. When we look at the children of Israel that were wandering in the desert, God rained food down on the ground, which was called manna. But he only gave them one thing that they weren't supposed to do. Two. They weren't supposed to collect it except at one point, and they never were supposed to collect more than what they could eat, meaning that they should not have any access. God gave them enough, and they were to be satisfied with what they already had and not be greedy, stating that they needed more. And we see an instance, because people always like to test and push the envelope. We see an instance, check it out. You say you're a Christian? Read the word. I told y'all I'm a church baby. We can do it all day long. We see an instance where the children of Israel decided, well, there's some extra manna around here. Now, I'm paraphrasing. It's some extra manna around here. So, I'm going to just, Moses don't see me. I'm just going to scoop some in my basket. I know what my family needs because I get it every day. But I'm just going to scoop some extra, and it turned to worms. It's soured. Unfortunately, that's how we kind of got here. Because it didn't used to be this way. David has talked about it extensively on his show. Chattanooga used to have just shanty. It kind of was like a shanty town. We just had simple houses. We didn't really have a lot of these huge, just these huge, unnecessary. The houses that we did used to have that were like that, those houses used to be owned by people who had money. But overall, I look at like my grandmother's house that we still have. It's legitimately a shotgun house. You can, from the porch, you can open up the front door and you can see almost straight to the back. Just about. Simple. Front room, second room, kitchen with an area for a table that maybe can sit 4 people, a little washing area, and then a bathroom that was barely big enough to fit a tub into. That's all my grandmother had, all she needed. We don't have a lot of the stuff that we have, we don't need. And the same thing for our government, besides the fact that from the Constitution, it is forbidden. It is forbidden. And we're going to talk about this eventually. It is forbidden for municipal governments to be doing business, to own property and do things. It is forbidden in the Constitution. Now, people like to, and I know Mike has called in a million times about this. The Constitution says what it says. And people try to reinterpret what is already written to try to see. And that's the thing. I've talked about it before. When my daddy gave me instructions, he always stated that I was supposed to follow the instructions to the letter. And the reason was because if I was looking for a way to modify it, it was for the intention of being disobedient. Ooh-wee, I know I hurt somebody on that one. That's tough. A lot of times when we're trying to reinterpret what the law is or what it states, that's because we're trying to discover a loophole. There is none. There is none. There is no loophole. There is no way out. We should do what we already know better to do. But the problem is a lot of us want stuff we don't need, stuff we shouldn't have. There shouldn't be half of the cars that are on the road. Too many of y'all know y'all credit is jacked up. The first problem is that one of the things that gentrification and giving payment in lieu of taxes does is it allows people to promise jobs, but they promise jobs that are far away from people to access them, which is we know that that's intentional. That's intentional so we can have certain people who cannot afford to get to those places to work. But that's part of why we have to have a local economy. If we have a local economy, the businesses are within walking area or biking area. And we can lower emissions. We can have less people on the road, more people walking. We have more healthy people. I know somebody's cringing like, what? Give up my automobile? Yes. We need to work towards different things like that because the reality is that the Ponzi scheme is something of an American experiment that has just blown worldwide because America is not the only people that do it. But the problem is that we continue to build things without understanding not only what does it cost now, but what is it going to be as far as the maintenance required? How much is that going to cost over time? Over time. So like when you make an investment, the expectation is that you're not going to receive anything right now, but that over time, you're going to get something back for what you invested. The problem is that over a life cycle, a city frequently receives just a dime or maybe even 2 of revenue for each dollar of liability. And that the American Society of Civil Engineers estimates a cost of $5 trillion. But that's just for major infrastructure, not minor streets, curbs, walks, pipes, all of the things that service our homes on a much lower scale. The reality is that the first reason that we have to begin to be fiscally responsible, that we need to stop expanding roads, stop building buildings. We need to stop what we're doing. And that's one of the reasons why I'm glad David gave me the CAFR, which it's going to take me a little time because there's a lot of financial data in there to look over the information. But what we know about budgeting and understanding as far as fiscal responsibility for the city of Chattanooga, the place where we live, is that, first of all, we don't have enough money. We don't have enough money that's going to account for the liability of highway expansion, road expansion, building these buildings, that it may cost $20 million right now. But who's going to pick up the slack when it costs $40 million to maintain it over the next 20 years? Your children. Or 40 years. Your grandchildren. And if it's more expensive, if even just the basis of what we need to take into account by the American Society of Civil Engineers states that it is going to cost us $5 trillion. $5 trillion. Just for major infrastructure to fix that. Which doesn't even take into account the smaller things. I want us to consider, how are we going to make the rest of this money up? Because I hope you can agree with me that stating that county and the city continuously raising people's taxes is not going to fix this problem. I hope you said, Marie, you sure is right on that. We can't afford for our taxes to be risen every year. It's not going to fix that. Even if they raise your taxes, eventually they're going to raise it to a point where you can't pay it and you just lose your home. Raising taxes is not going to be our way out of this. And really, it's kind of little wiggle room out of this. You know, it's kind of like if you've ever had a boil, they say that you don't try to don't try to pop it. Unfortunately, you got to put some heat on it. Got to turn up the heat on it. And then eventually all of the yucky stuff is going to come out. The infection. It's not really a way out of this. We've spent ourselves. We've printed money as a country. We've done that we don't have. And we have not taken into account that growth is not something that is going to continue to happen. Eventually, the growth that we say that we have is going to taper off. But the reality is that the growth that we have is grossly inflated by debt. It is not a real thing. The amount of the financial return generated by new growth exceeds the long-term maintenance and replacement costs of infrastructure the public is now obligated to maintain, or the city will always grow in an ever-accelerating amounts so as to generate the cash flow necessary to cover the long-term obligations. But we know number 2 is a lie. One of the two has to happen. Either we're going to grow. We're always going to have people moving here. Or the reality is that we have not been logical in how we have overdeveloped the city of Chattanooga. And that the reality is that the decisions you've allowed your city council persons, your mayor, your city mayor, your county mayor, and your county commission to make is going to eventually cause a financial collapse. You know, it's not just the big bubble that we have to worry about. It's also the smaller bubbles in these cities as well, all across the nation, because we're not the only ones that do it. Where we should take it into account at least 5 years out. How much is it going to cost us to maintain what we have continuously tried to build? And if we did, I believe construction on a lot of stuff would cease. because it's so expensive. I think people can agree. This is one of the reasons why when we talk about affordable housing, that doesn't mean houses for people to buy. There are a lot of people who never want to own a home because it's expensive. It's not just buying a home. Buying a home, oh, it's great until stuff starts breaking. And then you got to repair stuff. Nobody takes into account when they buy a home, what does it cost to maintain this big, beautiful $200,000 house that I just bought? That the work of maintaining the home is really where the cost is taken. Really, is what pounds you. Yeah. Beautiful house I looked at on Oak Street. It's $120,000, but it's going to need almost $300,000 worth of work. Jesus Christ. Maintenance. And that's just to make it look pretty. Folks, this is part one. We're going to get into part two. It's a Ponzi scheme. And we're going to talk about why it's a Ponzi scheme. We're going to really dig in on part two, which we will do on Monday, because y'all know what it is. Tomorrow is Know Your Rights Fridays, where we talk about your rights. We talk about your constitutional rights. So y'all better tune in on tomorrow because it's going to be a lit conversation. Y'all know what it is. Marie Mott with the Marie Mott Show. If no one is taking the time to tell you that they love you, I love you. Nothing that you can do about it. Y'all have a great day here in the city of Chattanooga.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
Authorities say mosquito-borne viruses have killed 2 people and made 6